Hello everyone, welcome to the Departamento Loratorum. My name is Max, and today I'd like to talk to you about Slaanesh. As many of you know, the Emperor's Children are all set to arrive as a full faction in Warhammer 40k, with pre-orders starting soon. I'm sure many of you, like me, are eagerly anticipating getting your hands on those beautiful new models, painting them up, and creating your own army. Today, I'd like to try and provide some more unique ideas on how you can create your own Emperor's Children warband. Kind of. While the faction is named Emperor's Children, and they are the primary Slaanesh-worshipping Chaos Space Marines we see in the Warhammer 40k universe, they are not the only devotees of the Dark Prince among the forces of the traitor Astartes. Other Chaos Space Marine warbands serve the Prince of Pleasure, and you may decide that you'd rather start an army based on one of them instead of the Emperor's Children, either because you find their lore more interesting, prefer their paint scheme, or just want the additional freedom to make your own dudes. Games Workshop used to have alternative color schemes and example warbands and codices to help with this exact thing and make the universe feel more fleshed out. They seem to have been moving away from this in 10th edition, which is a shame, and I hope they do go back. But fortunately, there's nothing stopping you from painting your models the way that you want to. I do also want to say that there is nothing wrong with choosing to just make an Emperor's Children warband if that's what you want to do. There's still plenty of variation that you can do with that, and, they're still a very cool faction even just on their own. But in the spirit of Slaanesh, I think we should have more options. Today I will be going through 6 examples to provide you with options and inspiration. I would like to say before we get started though that this is not an exhaustive dive into each warband, both so this video is not a massive slog, and also because historically Slaanesh has been underrepresented compared to the other gods. For someone like Khorne, say, we would have a lot more information on his warbands. This makes some sense as Games Workshop is trying to sell this game to kids, and Slaanesh may not be appropriate for children in some ways. Thankfully, Games Workshop seems to be moving more in the direction of making Slaanesh the god of excess instead of focusing just on the physical pleasures, hopefully allowing them to do more and more varied stories with them. But without any further ado, let's begin with one of the oldest warbands on this list, the Violators. The Violators were introduced all the way back in 3rd edition, in the second Chaos Space Marine Codex released for that edition. They also managed to appear in the book Demon World, with a group of them under a Chaos Dreadnought named Commander Demetrius, serving under the Slaaneshi ruler of the titular Demon World, Torvendus. They also fought in the 13th Black Crusade, participating in the capture of the penal world of St. Josmain's Hope, and drawing recruits from penal worlds across the Cadian sector. The Violators' bodies are mutated and altered, leaking a purple-gray fluid that stains their armor. They also often scar their bodies in devotion to Slaanesh, and will wear their armor at all times. The idea of showing their body considered a sacrilege, unless it is to a worthy champion of Slaanesh, or to a powerful foe they have defeated and are about to kill. Their color scheme is a bit more basic, dark blue with a silver trim, and their symbol is a cross, dagger, and lightning bolt. Unfortunately, they have not been seen much in recent 40k lore. They could be the faction for you if you want to revive them, or if you enjoy Hellbrutes, as they were led by a Chaos Dreadnought. Mixing in some Penal Legion-themed cultists might also be interesting. Let's now move on to a faction that is obsessed with punishing others instead of themselves. The Punishers. The Punishers are almost exclusively known for their rivalry with a chapter of Space Marines called the Dark Hunters, almost destroying them in the First Punisher War in 825 M41, until they were defeated by a coalition of chapters aiding the Dark Hunters. They have since clashed with the Dark Hunters many other times, as detailed in the book Dark Hunters, Umbra Sumnus, as well as joining Typhus in the Charadon campaign in M42, assaulting the Forge world of Metallica. The Punishers appear to be a powerful warband, almost wiping out the Dark Hunters on their own homeworld, needing elements of 6 other chapters to drive them off, as well as having access to Emperor-class battleships. We don't know all that much about their culture or beliefs, save that they serve Slaanesh and hate the Dark Hunters. This can be a negative or a positive, as it gives you less of a sense of who they are exactly, but also allows you to make up some of your own headcanon. Punishers have bone-colored armor with brass trim and black bones drawn directly onto their armor. They would be an excellent choice if someone in your playgroup already has or is thinking of starting a Dark Hunters-themed army, or if you just want a framework to create your own specific headcanon. While the Punishers make use of bones as armor decoration, let's move on to another warband who prefers to use them in a more visceral way. The Corpus Brethren. The Corpus Brethren were introduced in the 6th edition Chaos Codex, being part of the ill-fated Abyssal Crusade. This was a crusade into the Eye of Terror, performed by 30 Space Marine chapters called the Judged, in 321 M37. They were convinced of their perceived corruption by the imperial saint, Basilius. who sent them into the Eye of Terror in order to cleanse themselves. He later turned out to be a traitor, with this being a ploy in order to create more Chaos Space Marine forces. The Sentinels, one of the chapters in the Judge, entered the Eye of Terror and fought on a demon world called Oliensis. This world was made up of a giant obese man curled into a ball, and beastmen and noise marines lived on him, dwelling inside his massive pores. When the Sentinels landed, they fought against the beastmen before being ambushed by noise marines. This awakened Oliensis, who decided to devour the Sentinels and noise marines whole. It is unknown exactly what occurred to the Sentinels inside of Oliensis, save that they had to turn to cannibalism in order to survive. When they managed to escape, they had been corrupted into a cannibalistic Slaanesh-worshipping warband called the Corpus Brethren. The Corpus Brethren have unfortunately not been seen outside of the 6th and 8th edition Chaos Codices, although we do know that the Marines in the warband have names and titles like the Feaster in the Twilight and the Gnawing Brute. Pretty metal if you ask me. They also have a beautiful color scheme of white armor and bronze trim, probably my favorite of all the warbands we're going to see. I think some flayed skin or gore effects would really pop on them. I just think they would be so beautiful. This is another warband where you really have more of a framework for the lore to build up in your own head. You do have some interesting names and titles, as well as a, frankly, pretty cool backstory. It may also be interesting to add in some Slaanesh-themed beastmen, or some bits from the Flesh Eater courts in Age of Sigmar. But maybe you're like Batman and want to see if it comes in black instead. Which brings us to our next warband, the Children of Torment. The Children of Torment are a sub-faction within the Black Legion, made up of Slaanesh worshippers. The history of the Black Legion as a whole is too long to get into here, but to summarize, they're followers of Abaddon the Despoiler, War Master of Chaos. Devoted to winning the long war against the Imperium at any cost, they will accept anyone, from any background, who agrees to serve Abaddon and help overthrow the hated Corpse Emperor. The Black Legion as a whole are featured in many Warhammer books, but if you'd like to learn about their foundation in history, I'd recommend the Black Legion series by Aaron Dembski-Bowden. You can even see that one of the founding members was a former Emperor's Children. The book Renegades, Lord of Excess also features an Emperor's Children warband who actually broke away from the Children of Torment. As mentioned previously, the Children of Torment are made up of Slaanesh-worshipping Marines, including many former Emperor's Children. They are often looked down upon by the Emperor's Children as traitors to Fulgrim and lapdogs of Abaddon. This could lead to some interesting conflict, especially if maybe your friend is thinking of picking up an Emperor's Children army as well. They may also be a good option if you were thinking of starting both a Chaos Space Marine and Emperor's Children army. It also might be a good thing for kit bashers, as mixing in some regular Chaos Space Marine and Emperor's Children parts would look pretty cool. Their armor is mostly the Black Legion black and gold color scheme, although with a little pink mixed in sometimes. Although if you're a fan of pink armor, this next warband is definitely the one for you. The Flawless Host. The Flawless Host are probably the most well-known warband on this list. Since their introduction in the 4th edition, they've appeared in many lore blurbs and codices in White Dwarves, as well as appearing in short stories, like The Judges in Their Hunger and Honor and Wrath. They were originally a chapter called the Shining Blades, known for their purity, mental training, and many victories. As you probably guessed, this led to them developing quite an ego, and resulted in them eventually turning traitor in the Beryllia Massacre in 498 M34, slaughtering everyone they could find after their magnificence was supposedly questioned. For the following century, they scoured the entire area, getting into conflict with various loyalist chapters, including the Red Scorpions. They raided one of the Red Scorpions' strike cruisers, stealing their gene seed. In response, the Red Scorpions scoured the entire area and destroyed the Flawless Host's asteroid base in the region. This defeat led the Flawless Host to declare vengeance against the Red Scorpions for tarnishing their glory. Since then, they have become devoted to Slaanesh, making use of many combat drugs, and in conquering Imperial worlds to enforce their own version of perfection. They fought in the 5th Black Crusade, the War of Beasts, and allied with Fabius Bile to fight in the Pariah Crusade. They also conquered the feudal world of Novaris, enslaving the population to produce weapons before the newly founded Silver Templars chapter liberated it during the early 42nd millennia and took it as their homeworld. These two factions have developed a rivalry since, especially considering the Templars' first captain Ducas slew a lord of the Flawless Host, Lyria's Soulslaver, during the battle. As stated before, the Flawless Host is one of the more popular Slaanesh warbands in 40k other than the Emperor's Children, with their pink and purple color scheme really making them stand out. The new Emperor's Children models seem made for a scheme like this, and given this warband's popularity, I wouldn't be surprised if they got a shout out in the new codex. If a friend has a Silver Templars army, I'd say this is a no-brainer choice for a warband. They may also be a good choice if you want your faction in that sweet spot between having a good amount of lore, but not so much that it feels overwhelming. But if you'd prefer a bit more anarchy and freedom, this final warband may be the one for you. The Heden Nari. The Heden Nari are a piratical group of Slaaneshi Marines who raid the Eastern Fringe. They were introduced in the 8th edition Chaos Space Marine Codex and, due to this recent introduction, have relatively little lore and have not appeared since that codex, unfortunately. But we do know that they revel in war for its own sake, always trying to spread anarchy and tear down law and order wherever they go. They also have an alliance with a Chaos Lord named Drethoni, who is also an anarchist with large Helldrake Ares, presumably giving them access to those demon engines. This is another warband where, appropriately, you have more freedom to make your own headcanon, although they do provide a framework of piracy to work in, as well as access to sweet demon engines. Their color scheme is purple with a bronze trim. So there are the 6 warbands, but it wouldn't be Slaanesh if we didn't go a bit beyond. I'd like to also mention the Angels of Ecstasy, a warband that we know nothing about save their color scheme and general design, and that they used to be a chapter called the Sons of Ulthunas, and that they turned traitor in something called the Ganymethean Betrayal. While their design certainly looks Slaaneshi, we don't have any confirmation of this, but that does bring me to an important final point. You can always take an existing warband with no or very little lore and make it your own, or of course just make up your own original warband. Like an existing name or color scheme, make a Slaanesh splinter faction of that warband. Want to make a group of wordbearers who summon demons to appease the Dark Prince? Feel free. Make your own group of traveling noise marines who want to share their music with the galaxy, whether they're willing or not. Or a group of gourmands searching for the perfect ingredients for their great feast to honor Slaanesh. An idea I've actually come up with from my own Slaanesh-themed warband is a former penitent Space Marine chapter who discovered the potential pleasures in pain and want to share that with the rest of the galaxy. Being the god of excess in all its forms, Slaanesh has endless possibilities for you to build your own dudes around. Hopefully the warbands that I've mentioned here today can help provide some inspiration for that. I'd also like to recommend a couple of books that can give you some more inspiration for what to do with your own Slaanesh warband. These books do focus on the Emperor's Children, but they go into the different motivations behind why Chaos Space Marines may follow Slaanesh. These are the aforementioned Renegades, Lord of Excess, which really dives into the different goals and ways that different Slaanesh Marines might serve, or view as the best way to serve Slaanesh. I'd also like to recommend the Fabius Bile trilogy as a whole. While Fabius himself is no longer really a member of the Emperor's Children and doesn't recognize the Chaos Gods at all, Emperor's Children Marines are important secondary characters throughout all the books, and their different perspectives are explored. These are the books that actually got me interested in Emperor's Children, so I really would recommend them. I hope that you found this informative. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video and comment any suggestions for future videos down below. Also, if this made you want to start any of these warbands, I'd love to hear it. My next video is going to be on orcs, and either should be out next week or the week after. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.